I appreciate Francis Crick, who's one of the gentlemen credited with the discovery of DNA. Even though he was an atheist, he was always honest and open and objective, a true scientist. He would openly talk about frustrations and dilemmas and roadblocks or whatever. Got to one point in the 1970s, because of what he understood as far as constraints go, where he hypothesized that aliens brought material here so that we could start life. Now let's examine that for a minute. There's at least two major flaws with that argument. One is why? Why would aliens come here, pick this planet, travel for hundreds and thousands of years to get to this planet, which at the time would really be hostile to life, leave the material, and then go home, take 500,000 years to get there, and end up back at a place that's no longer habitable for them? That doesn't really make any sense. But there's an even greater dilemma. The universe didn't produce the heaviest metals, some of the radioactive elements, until about the 9 or 9.2 billion year mark. And what that means is this: we need an electromagnetic field to block some of the radiation for the sun. If we don't have that electromagnetic field, we're going to get torched by radiation, and it's going to sterilize the planet. Now, what does it take to sustain an electromagnetic field? It takes radioactive elements in the core of the Earth to keep the iron liquid and keep things spinning so that we have that. Now, electromagnetic material isn't available until about the 9.2 or 9 billion year mark of the universe. Well, that just happens to be exactly the time that Earth was came into being. So the dilemma is this: no one could have had advanced life and had it long enough to come here and bring material. Under ideal evolutionary conditions, it takes another 4.5 billion years for advanced life to form, even if it could somewhere else. And so the point being is this: we're a first-generation advanced life planet. Prior to the time when Earth came into being, there definitely were no planets that could sustain advanced life, because there were no radioactive elements that could sustain an electromagnetic field, amongst other things that those elements do as well. We'll talk more about fluorine and some other things later. And then there's another dilemma. Some people would say, okay, so maybe there's other life forms. Maybe there's not carbon-based RNA, DNA life forms. Maybe there's some other life forms, and they brought the material here. That makes no sense logically. Why would beings from a different life form come here and use material totally foreign to them to start life on this planet and leave? It's not logical. We're not going to see that as well. So what we see again is all sorts of roadblocks. We have no explanations for how life began on this planet. There are no plausible explanations for how it happened naturally. And when biology holds itself accountable to astrophysics, then we run into a wealth of new conditions and constraints that prohibit any plausible explanation that scientists can come up with today. I'd recommend some more books in addition to some of the ones that I recommended before. There's an oldie but goodie, Rare Earth, Peter Ward and Donald Brownlee, explaining the rarity of a planet in a universe that is even capable of having advanced life, of sustaining advanced life. So again, what we come down to is everywhere we try to hypothesize to overcome the constraints, the many constraints that are on us for where life came from, we just run into more constraints and throw up our hands all over again. So our argument would be natural explanations, dead end, all over the place. We have to resign ourselves to the fact that someone, some intelligent being outside of our space-time dimension started life here.